oftentimes we hear people talking about love, but I guess love comes in many forms because in checking with crisis line and safe house, people who supposedly love each other oftentimes are engaged in not too nice activities. And it's called in many instances domestic violence. I had to pause before I said it because I wanted to kind of sink. And, in just looking at it from a statistical point of view, there are more occurrences and instances of domestic violence than we realize. Additionally, there are more forms of domestic violence than some of us may realize. So I said to myself, I said, hmm, maybe I ought to get Crisis Line and Safe House on an interview to talk more about, first of all, what they do, and then just give us more information on domestic violence and some of the programs and initiatives that are used to kind of address it and, make it better and educate people about it. So, in calling Crisis Line and Safe House, my wife called her and they sent me this phenomenal interviewee in the person of Miss Suzanne Walker, who's the director of programs for that phenomenal program. How you doing?
Well, and thank you for that very kind introduction. I didn't even have to pay you to say that.
I'm gonna send you a bill. You didn't know that. Well, so thank you so much for coming on the show. And I want to dive right into it. But first of all, tell us, you do such an important job, and I know that it takes some personal qualities and characteristics to be able to engage from a vocational perspective in the kind of work that you're doing. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you. Again, I'm Suzanne Walker. I moved to Macon years ago to attend Mercer University, and I just fell in love with Macon and knew I wanted to stay here.
Go
And
Bears.
yes, absolutely. It's been a wonderful experience so far. It's funny, I actually started at Crisis Line and Safe House immediately after college, and I thought it would be the job that I would do for maybe a year or two. That's been 17 years ago.
Wow.
But I love this agency. I love the work that we do, and I love the impact that we make on the community. So this is I'm happy, and this is where I want to stay.
That makes two of us. Uh, I am happy also. So talk a little bit about the agency and the programs, and don't wait for an interruption from me because I'm not going to give you one. But I
Okay.
just want you to just kind of, I mean, I did some research on it as it relates to, battered women and safe houses and attorneys and other kind of resources that are offered. But talk about that.
Okay. Well, so Crisis Line and Safe House is a local nonprofit agency. We are a state certified domestic violence and sexual assault agency. A lot of people don't realize that we offer both services. We have staff that work 24/7. So if it is Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, there is Thanksgiving Day, there's always an advocate working and available to assist with any needs that might come up. One of our first programs that we always want to make sure people know about is our 24-hour crisis hotline. And again, there's always an advocate working, answering those calls, available to assist. And we get all sorts of calls. It might be someone is experiencing domestic violence and they're not sure who to turn to. It might be that someone's concerned about a family member and they want to know, how do I assist them? I can tell that they're experiencing a dangerous relationship. What do I do? On the other hand, years ago, I had a woman contact me and she said, honey, my grandchildren tell me I need to learn how to use this Google on my computer, and I don't know how a thing about it. And in her mind, that was a crisis and she needed help. And so I was able to walk her through it on the phone. But we just never know what type of calls we may get. But again, we've got staff trained to assist with those. Another program we have is our legal services program. And we are so excited. We actually have an in house attorney. She does a wonderful job. I know not many people realize that, but she's able to take cases as they pertain to domestic violence. That could be divorce cases, custody cases, evictions. Again, anything that kind of touches on domestic violence, she might be able to assist with if it's in our service area. Also, in our legal services program, we've got legal advocates who help with temporary protective orders and stalking orders. And one cool thing, years ago, we realized that transportation can be a barrier for many people because although our main office is located in downtown Macon, we have a 7 county area that we serve. So if someone is in Twiggs County and they need to do a protective order, they may not have the time to take off of work, to drive to Macon, to meet with an advocate, to then come back to meet with a judge. It's a process. So we created a position that goes to each of our surrounding counties in our service area 1 day a week to meet with clients there so they don't have to travel and they can save some time and just that frustration of they have one more thing they have to do to get help. We go to them instead. Another program we've got is our sexual assault advocacy program. Years ago, if someone was sexually assaulted in Middle Georgia, they would have to go to the hospital to have the forensic medical exam done. And they couldn't have anyone they knew in the room with them during the exam.
Wow.
So imagine going through something that devastating and then being told, you have to go through this next part alone. Instead, we had advocates who stepped up and they would go to the hospital and be with the victim through this process, explain what was happening next. But we realized clients, if it is not a life-threatening thing, they would be at the emergency room waiting and waiting and waiting because, of course, those who've been in a car accident, those who think they might be having a heart attack, they need to go first. It is time sensitive that they be seen first. But until then, you have this victim sitting in the corner waiting and waiting and waiting. So instead, we opened 2 standalone sexual assault centers, one in Macon and one in Robbins. All of the hospitals were overjoyed. They were very on board with this because it takes some pressure off of them and it relieves their emergency room staff. So we have sexual assault nurse examiners. They have to go through a special training, special certification to do this. But our offices are set up to be much more calming, much more welcoming, much more sensitive to what the person is going through. So now, again, 24/7, someone can report to our office, they can contact us, and we can do the sexual assault exam for them. We have the advocates that are with them. We also have advocates that will follow them throughout the process. If they choose to press charges, if there's a court case, our advocates will be there every step of the way if that's what the client chooses. So
Wow.
I know
Wow.
it's amazing all the different services.
It's absolutely phenomenal.
And don't
Well,
worry, I'm not done yet.
okay, you know what? Somehow I figured that.
We've got more to go.
You,
Another program.
I knew I wound you up, but I didn't know it was that tight. So just go ahead.
Another program we have is our counseling program. We know that domestic violence and sexual assault have long lasting impact on someone, and the trauma can stay for years and years. So we have 2 counselors on staff that will see clients either in Macon or Warner Robins, and they can work with these individuals to work through that trauma. And it does not have to be recent. It could be someone who experienced childhood abuse. It could be someone who grew up in a home where there was domestic violence and they're in their 70s now, but it's, again, still has that long lasting impact. And then another program we've got is, I told you, so many programs, our residential program. So this is for someone who, if their home is no longer safe, if the abuser has either located their home, lives with them, frequently has destroyed the door, prevented it so it can't be locked anymore, they can enter into our residential program. We've got 3 bedrooms. It's very homey. It's not like the shelters you see on TV. We want it to be somewhere that the kids come home from school, throw their book bag on the couch, hang out, relax for a little bit, and just be a family. And so we can accept adults, men and women, because a lot of people don't realize that males can be victims of domestic violence, and families. We don't ever accept unaccompanied children, but again, we do families, and again, lots of programs that we offer. But our final one that we're very excited about, we are helping open one of the first family justice centers in Middle Georgia. So this will be a program that a number of individuals in the community have come together because we see a need. So a family justice center is kind of like a one-stop shop. If someone is a victim of domestic violence or sexual assault, they can come to this one location and get all the services they need instead of coming to us, then having to figure out a way to the courthouse, then maybe figure out a way to law enforcement, figure out a way to the attorney. It will all be housed in one building. And we have started construction. We are super excited about that we are hoping to open next year or the following.
Where would that be?
We are, I knew you'd quiz me. It is on the corner of Second and Hawthorne. It is the old Virgil Powers School building.
Oh,
And so
wow.
we are
Oh,
excited to give it a
wow.
new life.
Yeah, I used to teach there. That used to be the halfway house for
Really?
the
Yes.
Department of Correction. And I wonder, it's funny how things happen because it's such a lovely building and it
Mm-hmm.
needed to be used. And I saw, I think Warren and Associates working
Mm-hmm.
on it. And I was wondering oh wow, that is so nice. And that's gonna be a hot little area because the chef got his outreach center up there where rescue mission used to be. And then
Mm-hmm.
River Edge is building a facility right
Uh-huh.
across the street. And then that's wonderful. That's wonderful. And you know
Just a
what's really,
community of
really
helping all right there.
right, right, right. And then for the ones that do wrong, the jail is right across the street, so we'll lock you up. You know what's very, very interesting, and I want you to discuss this. There are so many resources available in our community, and you seem to be a resource that for various reasons people are reluctant and are afraid to reach out to. So is that true? Have you found that to be
Mhm.
true that you probably got a lot of people walking around who could benefit greatly from the utilization of one or more of your programs, but
Mhm.
they just don't reach out,
I
and
think.
I don't know, and I think some of it is attributable to they don't know, but
Mhm.
some of it is attributable to other factors, and I know that you have had those experiences. So talk about that a little bit, if you will.
Yes. Well, and I think this ties back into the question of why would someone stay in an abusive relationship? And I think the answers are very similar. Each circumstance is different, and we don't know what the person's circumstance is, but it could be that they have tried to reach out for help before to a family member, maybe a friend, only to be told there's nothing wrong with that, or this is fine, this is better than what it could be. And so they think, oh, is this as good as it gets? Is this what I should be dealing with every day? Something else, unfortunately, some of the faith communities will tell individuals they need to stay married no matter what, and that's not the case, but they feel if their faith community says this or their cultural background says they need to stay married, then they try. Something else we see is financial barriers. It is so expensive to start over right now, and that is especially if you have a two-income household, it can be challenging. Imagine doing that if your abusive partner has not let you work outside of the home, so you have no money to start over with. You don't even know, where do I turn, what is the first step that I take, because I have no money in savings, and I might have two children that I have to provide for as well. We've had situations too that there are not many overnight daycares in Macon. That is the best tip I can give someone, is that is an untapped market, because we have had clients who had jobs that were overnight jobs. Maybe they worked at the hospital. Maybe they worked again at a grocery store somewhere that was 24/7, and their partner was watching the children while they were working overnight. And so if they leave their partner, they can't find overnight childcare. They either lose their job and their income, or they leave their children along with their partner that could be dangerous. So there's all of those could be reasons that someone might stay in an abusive relationship. Or, as you mentioned, as much as we try to get our name out to share our services with everybody, I meet someone almost daily who says, "Oh, I didn't know y'all did that." And that's why I'm so excited you invited us today, because we love things like this to share our work with more people, because there's so many things that can assist. And we tell everyone, feel free to reach out. It can be anonymous. Someone can call us and just say, "Hey, can we walk through this together? Can we talk about my options?" And they're not comfortable to give any personal information. Absolutely. We are here to be that listening ear and to help however we can.
Wow. That's very, very that's interesting, and that's interesting to know,
Mm-hmm,
because we got all these problems in our community with mental health,
mm-hmm,
and oftentimes people being in these kinds of situations find themselves, in a mental health crisis. So
mm-hmm,
it's just so important. And I think you need to repeat, if you would, how relatives and the community can kind of be involved in not only addressing it, we're going to talk about volunteers and things of that nature, but there's an old saying that says, if you see something, say something,
mm-hmm,
so how can that kind of be intertwined if in fact there are some situations that should be addressed relative to domestic violence and homelessness and legal situations and divorces and working
mm-hmm.
overnight, those kinds of things. Because I think it's important, Miss Suzanne Walker, that you are explaining all of those services and those resources that are available in the community. And I also think it's crucially important that, although one may not be in a situation where they need your help, they might know somebody who needs your help. So talk a little bit about how one can approach your agency and as it relates to all of those services that
Mm-hmm.
you are providing.
So, something we tell people frequently is the best thing you can do is be a listening ear. So many of our clients don't have family support, don't have friend support, because the abuser has isolated them. That is one of the biggest tactics we see from the abusers, is they slowly chip away at all of that contact you have, all that connection you have with your friends, with your families, who might say, "This doesn't seem right," or "You seem different." You might notice that your friend, your family member, is suddenly wearing long sleeves and pants in the middle of July when they've never done that before. Or you might notice your friend or family member suddenly turning down invitations to events of things they've always loved previously. Like, maybe it's the fair. Maybe y'all go to the Georgia National Fair every year. And this year they said, "No, no, I can't do it. I need to stay home with my partner," or and make excuses, because again, that partner is focused on the isolation. And so the best tip we can give those who think they've got a family member or friend who is experiencing domestic violence is, just without pressuring, to continue to reach out and just say, "I'm concerned about you. Is everything okay? And no matter what, I'm here for you and I'm not judging you." Because many times they might feel judged by friends and family whenever they finally share what has happened. And we've had situations where the client said, "I finally told my mother what my husband was doing to me." And she said, "Well, is there anything you could be doing differently to make things smoother in the home?" And that puts the judgment back on the person, because I tell you, these abusers are not acting a fool at Kroger. They are not doing this to a cashier when they get upset that their order is not correct, or they are specifically targeting one person. They're specifically targeting their partner. And that's how you can tell that it's intentional, that it would be a different circumstance if the abuser was acting this way towards every person they came in contact with. as opposed to what we see as domestic violence almost always hides in the home. It's not something that is broadcasted out in the community. And these people might be individuals high up in a community, and the world gets a different side of them. And we know on average, it takes someone 7 times to leave their abusive partner for good. So maybe this is a third time. Maybe this is the fifth time. Maybe this is the time it's for good. But another thing that we have learned is because there's so many challenges to leaving an abusive relationship, like we mentioned earlier, the financial aspect, the childcare aspect, those are hard. And so the person might say, I can't do this alone. I need support. And they go back to their abusive partner. Then unfortunately, their support system might turn on them and say, well, I was going to support you whenever you left them, but you've just gone back to it again. This is your fault now. And it's not. So the best thing that everyone can do is, again, listen, offer a supportive ear, and be non-judgmental, but also understand there may be reasons that person goes back. But if you keep that door open, they will know they can depend on you in the future. Again, since I've been with Crisis Line and Safe House for so many years, I've had the joy of seeing some clients that I worked with years ago. And unfortunately, they returned to their abusive partner, and they've left again for good this time. And they would say, because of our interactions before, I knew it was safe for me to come back to y'all. I felt comfortable because, again, we would tell them, we want you to be safe, but we are not judging you or your actions.
Wow, that is well. Let me ask you this, Miss Suzanne Walker, Program Director for the Crisis Line and Safe House, that's doing a phenomenal job in Central Georgia. It's not just limited to Macon, but they service the Central Georgia area, and I want to give you some kudos or whatever you call them for the job that you all are doing, the much needed job that you're doing in our community. What if somebody has a problem? It could be either from a violence perspective or sexual perspective or family perspective or homelessness perspective or what have you. And they just want to talk to somebody,
Mm-hmm.
because oftentimes, confidentiality is important. People don't want everybody to know their business, you know, and I think that's one reason why people don't utilize resources because
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately they got too much pride and it's not hurting anybody but themselves. But so what if somebody said, I would just like to have a conversation, counseling with
Absolutely.
somebody, confidentially just to kind of
Mm-hmm.
walk through this. I don't want anybody to know, you know,
Mm-hmm.
should that be approached?
We would encourage them to call our 24-hour crisis hotline. And again, there's an advocate available to speak with them. Excuse me. There's an advocate available to speak with them at any time about any concerns they might have. And if the person says, I'm not comfortable giving any information, sure, we are still here to help. If the person says, can I go by a nickname? Could you call me Sally? Absolutely. We are happy to do that. And sometimes we have had situations where a caller, maybe they do recognize the advocate who's worked and they recognize that voice and say, I'm not comfortable. They can say, is there another advocate available? Sure. If we have someone else available, we're happy to transfer. And confidentiality is extremely important in our work. And we do lots of training on that as soon as our staff begin working, that what happens within our agency stays here. We never share that without the person's consent, and then only to help the person.
Oh, let's make sure that the community knows, all of the avenues are getting in touch with you. And you could just enumerate, if you would, those agencies, those areas rather, that Crisis Line and Safe House deals with. But how do we get in touch with you? And then just kind of go over again what the resources that are available.
Okay. So if someone needs to get in touch with us, I encourage them to call our 24-hour crisis hotline. That's 478-745-9292. We also have a beautiful new website that was just redesigned that is cl-sh.org. And we've got a Facebook page that we are very proud of, that we post events that we have attended, that we have put on, success stories from some of our clients. And so encourage that you to follow our Facebook page to learn more about what's happening in our community and what our needs are and how individuals in the community might be able to assist us.
Yeah, and they can go to the website and get those services because Elizabeth did an outstanding job on it. I have
She
to,
really did. We loved
yeah,
it.
yeah, Elizabeth Shore, however you pronounce the name.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's I think that's correct. So, I mean, I just want to thank you and congratulate you. And oh, one other question quickly. So when you said a three-bedroom, so in fact, if somebody needs to leave and if they have been abused and if they come to you, is it hard to get in, temporarily to try to
Uh-huh.
find some kind of housing?
That is a very good point. So our crisis line and safe house, we can hold up to 12 individuals, and we do stay full a good bit of the time. However, we are part of a state certified network. So if our shelter is full and we are not able to accept this individual, this family who's escaping abuse, we will find them another state certified shelter to
Wow.
go to, and we will provide transportation for them to get there if they don't
Wow.
have transportation. The
Wow.
closest are going to be Warner Robins, McDonough, and Dublin. But sometimes someone says, you know what, I need to be further away. I don't feel safe being close. We can help with that too.
Wow. Well, Suzanne, you got all the answers, girl.
You're just asking easy questions. That's all. You're a good host.
Yeah, this has been absolutely phenomenal. This is a call to action. I am your host, Alex Habersham. And then we didn't talk much about it, but I'm sure that you can call the hotline or you can go to the website and reach out as it relates to sexual abuse.
Mhm.
They deal in that also. We can't cover all the bases, but you can definitely find out more about it as you go to the website or just give them a call in that respect. This is a call to action. I am your host, Alex Habersham. Thank you so much. Oh yeah, incidentally, since she talked about Facebook, you need to subscribe to our YouTube channel and like our Facebook page. Alex Habersham YouTube is our channel, and our Facebook page is Macon's Call to Action. Thank you so much for all you do. Oh yeah, do you take volunteers?
We do, yes.
Okay,
On
okay.
our lovely new website, we've got a section that you can complete a form and we will be in touch.
All right. This is a call to action. Thank you so much, Ms. Walker. I'm your host, Alex Habersham, having discussed the Crisis Line and Safe House with Ms. Suzanne Walker, Program Director for that great organization. Have a great day.
www.makingblackpages.com